everyone, I hope you're doing so well and having an amazing week. And welcome to this little video all about the oil paintings I'm working on this month. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new. Also, thank you so much for incredible comments on all my YouTube shorts and YouTube videos. Long time no see. I do realise I've been away for absolutely ages. I basically went away just for a little while, just somewhere in England, and then when I got back, I actually had COVID. It was super annoying because I feel like I've still lost about 50% of my sense of smell. And so I went around asking everyone, like, what do I do? And basically everyone I know just laughed at me. It's so frustrating because I can't even smell my solvent now. So when I'm painting, I don't know if I'm inhaling too much because I can't really smell it, just sort of faintly. And it's kind of like an advantage in a way because I used to hate the smell of it because I'm using Zest at the moment. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, am I getting high off this? So I Googled it just because I keep Googling it. And for some strange reason, there's very little information on it. And I would have thought that there would be tons of information because at one point everyone had COVID, but there isn't. I found one website that said, you have to sniff a lemon or something regularly. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm not holding out too much hope. The paintings that I'm going to show are mostly landscapes. I do have maybe two, maybe one fantasy landscape to show you, as well as some portraits, because I have been testing up my portrait skills, and it's always good to keep it up because sometimes one can get so carried away with doing landscape and then before you know it you don't remember how to paint anything else. So it's so important to like switch it around. And as a bonus, at the end of this video I will talk about some of the hate comments that I've been getting, because unfortunately, even though it's been so amazing that when I upload shorts now, I do get significantly more views than I do on my longer videos. The flip side of that, of course, is that when you get a lot of views on YouTube, you do start to get the odd, hate comment kind of trickling in. So I thought I would talk about that, just because it might be quite funny, and also maybe some people can relate. Firstly, I think I'm going to show some of the paintings that I did on my travels and these were so actually they're all at the bottom. And these were just of fields mostly. I actually really like painting fields. I know for some people they probably find it quite boring, but for me it's, I don't know, there's something about that's green fields and sheep I just find really tranquil and beautiful. So this is the first one. This is actually already been varnished, and this is the next painting going in my Etsy store. So I will be updating it this week, which is when, no, it'll be next week. But hopefully very soon. And so this will be the next painting going in. And yes, once again, we have some sheep, and the clouds are really grey, but there was this amazing light peeking through the clouds. And once again, that is incredible to paint because you get such a variety in the sky. The worst thing when you're painting landscape is if the sky is completely flat blue or flat one colour essentially, or that sort of grey-white colour that you always get in England. That's one of the worst skies. So when that does happen, the best thing to do really is actually just wait until the sky changes, and usually it doesn't usually stay boring all day long. So that's it, and I do hope you like it. That sheep looks really funny, and I wasn't really happy with it for ages, but now I quite like it. So the next painting is this one. This is a sunset over a park that I don't know the name of. I don't know even really where this is. I just happened to be passing this park and I just thought that the sky happened to be really great. Sometimes when I get landscapes, when I paint them rather, I do get some fails. But this one I would say is a success. And part of the reason is because of the subject, because I managed to catch such an amazing sky, and that does, obviously the composition is really, really important when you're painting. When there are animals in the landscape, it's actually much easier to paint. If it's just a sky and a field, the thing is that the landscape can look like it has no central focus. And of course, if you are painting cows and sheep, your eye immediately goes to those. So it takes away the worry of not having to make a beautiful hit of light into the painting. And so when it's just a plain field and a sky and a few trees, it's probably the most challenging of compositions. The next one, this is actually from a place near me, and I wasn't completely sure about how I painted the houses here. I don't like to define them too much, and I generally don't like harsh lines. I ended up trying a few more lines because the houses actually weren't clearly defined. The trees were sort of pushing into the houses. Then I thought I'd try something new, and obviously the sky is quite dramatic here, so once again it was quite a straightforward composition because of that. Finally, in terms of landscape, we have this one, and once again I think this worked out interestingly. Once I painted it, I thought, what the heck, nobody's going to know what that is. And it is, yes indeed, a hedge and some grass and trees and a sky, so now there's no confusion. The thing is, there is actually a bench, a park bench here, and I was going to paint it in, but the thing is when painting wet in wet, it's quite hard to paint detailed areas. And once I'd actually painted this, I thought, should I add the bench in? And I contemplated it for quite some time, and then I decided not to. I quite like the simplistic look about it, and it is sort of bordering on abstract, so I thought maybe I'm going to leave it. And actually, funnily enough, I have a story about park benches, which is that whenever I think of a park bench, or whenever I see one, it reminds me of the very first piano teacher that I had, because I used to go to his house, and he lived on the top floor of this building. And presumably, this is something that I didn't know as a child, but presumably like the upper part of the apartments, like his bedrooms and things, were in the attic. But because I was a kid, I didn't know like that you could have rooms in an attic at that particular time, or I just hadn't figured it out. I was probably about 7, I think. So I used to ask him, like, oh, where are your bedrooms? Like, where does your family sleep? So he always used to say to me, I sleep on a park bench. And so whenever I see a park bench, it always reminds me of him. And he was actually an amazing piano teacher. His wife used to keep about, oh gosh, she was like a cat sitter. So she used to keep all these amazing long-haired, like designer cats. And they were really hench though. Like they were quite like almost scary in a way, but they were beautiful, but just very large. But I used to love going to his house because he had cats, and he also had a never-ending supply of sweets. And yes, he was an incredible piano teacher. Unfortunately, he passed away really young. I still have amazing memories. He was the best piano teacher I actually ever had, because I've only ever had 2 piano teachers, and the second one, enough said. So next up we have some portraits. So I've discovered that I think I prefer painting portraits on linen. However, I did paint a portrait on hardboard, and I think I quite liked it. So I'm in 2 minds now, because I went and bought some linen panels, which are so expensive, and then I thought actually kind of like the ones on the hardboard, so what do I do? So if you could tell me what you think, it would be really great, because then I will be able to figure out which is better. So first we have this piece, which is a girl in a hat, and I really was getting into painting people in hats. And I actually was doing my summer exhibition entry, and I was doing a portrait, and I considered adding a hat to that as well, but it didn't quite, I don't think it would have worked. So I thought I'm going to have to use a hat in some future paintings. So this is the one I did, and I do hope you like it. I was trying to get the brushstrokes quite loose. In terms of portraiture, my favourite artist is probably Rembrandt, so I sometimes do layer the paint quite thick. But in this case, I didn't. It just looks like I have, but the paint is actually quite thin. Next up we have this painting on the hardboard, and I actually think this turned out pretty well, but once again, I don't know if it really did. Like, I think it turned out well to me, but I don't know whether other people think it turned out well, and I haven't finished it, as you can see. I added a hat onto this portrait because I felt like I was just into hats. And I really do like the classical look that hats give, if that makes sense. And then this painting was not realistic, really. It started off being more realist, and then I really just kind of went with the colour and went with the flow, and I didn't really think too much about it. I was just going off in a dream, because I had this idea of this girl who was at a party and she wanted to take a moment away from the party, and it was all quite romantic. You know, like that moment when you're away from a party. Is that romantic? I don't know. Anyway, so there we are, and I think this worked out pretty well. Hopefully you liked this array of paintings. There was no consistent theme, I guess, but they will be in my Etsy store, as I say, and I will be updating it in the next few days. So yes. In terms of hate comments, I think this might be useful if you're somebody who wants to start a YouTube channel or an Instagram, and it doesn't have to be art related or whatever, but it's always really scary to put yourself out there and sort of try these things. And as I say, if you start getting lots of views and likes and things, you will inevitably start getting the old haters. And this is also useful just in general, like daily life. If you encounter someone who is rude or mean for no reason whatsoever, then this can sort of help. So I'm not going to go through each individual comment like I used to, because there were actually quite a few. And the thing is, now I feel like I get so annoyed by them that I just try to remove them as fast as possible, so then I don't see them later on and just like really and then reply, because I feel like replying to me is definitely not a bad thing. I mean, if you have a really witty reply, or you have an idea of what you're going to say, what you're going to post, rather, because you can actually post a link. Because I used to do that. I used to just like try and troll people back. Like I remember at one point I would post the link to the complete works of Shakespeare or something, just because I thought it would be really annoying for the person who like tried to get at me to then say like I really primary advice for this would just be, whatever you do, don't take it personally. I was bullied in secondary school. I have experience of being insulted. In fact, I have too wide an experience of it. And I would say that somebody insults you for no reason whatsoever, you're just doing something positive, it is really a reflection of them and not you. It says more about themselves than you. So for example, I'm just giving you an example of some of the stupid things that people have said. Like, I've been getting loads of comments like, why are you staring into the camera? Or why are you staring at me? Well, I actually have to look into the camera and stare into the camera to make a video. Like, that it's not actually possible for me to just close my eyes and film a video. I mean, it probably is possible, but I don't think anyone would watch that. Or they think that I was maybe like deranged or something. And there was someone else who kept commenting like, oh, why do you keep moving your face around, or why do you keep moving your head? Like, I mean, people do move their heads, like people do move around when they're speaking. It's just one of those things that is uncontrollable. I mean, unless I was a robot, maybe the person posting was a robot. I don't. Also got a lot of, why are you smiling? I mean, once again, if I was to make videos if I didn't smile at all, then I mean, how miserable would that be? I don't think anyone would watch. Maybe they would. I maybe should try it. I don't know. I also, in my regular videos, not my shorts, for some reason started to get tons of, well, not tons, but a few comments of people who get really angry when I say something even remotely negative, even though what I said wasn't actually negative, but maybe it came across negative about the oil paint brand Old Holland. For some reason, there's like this like crazy devoted fan base of Old Holland. And the only thing that I actually said was, and I actually use Old Holland oil paints. I think I've promoted them far more than I've said anything bad about them. There's nothing bad to say about them. They're a great oil paint. But the only thing I have mentioned is just the fact that the paint is thick and it is stiffer than other paints. And that is just a fact. Like, there's no getting around that, because that's one of the things that they are actually famous for. And it is actually a great thing, because the paints go really, really far, because you don't actually use very much, because they're so concentrated and they're so thick. But like, I had people write like either in capital letters or really irate comments like, how can you say this? It's like, just because it's thick doesn't mean it doesn't spread amazing and all that stuff, and that's your opinion. And what it isn't actually my opinion, it is a genuine fact that Old Holland paint is thicker. But that's good. I mean, it's not bad. Sometimes you have the need to use a thicker paint. Also, one video where I had done a review about an oil paint. I don't think it was Old Holland actually, but someone had written like, how can you review an oil paint without showing what it looks like and doing a demo of it and brushing it out? But I actually had done that because I always do that towards the end of the video. So first of all, I had spoken about the paint, and then at the end of the video, I had actually demonstrated it. So they wrote this really long rant about how I had to demonstrate what the paint looked like, but I had actually done it. So someone who'd just shouted about it in the comments, but they hadn't even bothered to watch the whole video. I just thought that is so stupid. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I have to say that the comments mostly haven't been original. They've just been very similar. Like, why are you staring? Why are you smiling? That's literally been it. Or your video is creepy, which is just I don't see how showing a painting could possibly be creepy. Obviously, clearly enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Of course, I will see you soon, very soon, with another video, and take care, guys.